Another important rule in Mancala is that if a player chooses a bin and distributes their stones one at a time counterclockwise and ends with their last stone in their own Mancala, they get to go again. So I'd like to incorporate this rule into our code. So to do this, I want to check a few things. First, I want to do something special when the last stone is given away. So let me check that if, as an integer, the giveaway pile equals 0, I want to keep special track of the receiving bin. So let me define a new variable called last recipient and assign it the value of the recipient at this point. And now if that didn't happen, let me add an else part here and kind of do what I did up above. I want to change the value of the recipient and make sure that it isn't outside the range of the index. So this should all be under that else statement. So if we encountered the last stone, that means we aren't going to go through the giveaway pile while loop again. But otherwise, I want to adjust the value of the recipient, check to see if it's beyond the range of my list indices, and then if it is, adjust it to 0. So next, outside of that while loop, so inside the overall while loop for the game, but outside of the while loop that distributes the stones, I want to check to see whose turn it is. So if player 1 is true, if it's player 1's turn, and the value of the last recipient is equal to 6, well, if that's the case, then player 1 landed their last stone in their own Mancala, and so I still want it to be player 1's turn. So I'm going to set player 1 equal to true, and this line 110, it actually isn't really doing anything because player 1 already is true, but it's setting up the next line, which is an else if line, in which we'll check to see if player 1 is false. And if that's the case, and the last recipient is equal to 13, that means that player 2 landed their last stone in their Mancala, and so I want player 1 to stay false. Again, this line is similarly not really doing anything, line 112, but it's setting up my next line, which in an else statement will actually do the command that was already there. We're going to switch between player 1 and player 2. So if player 1 lands their last stone in their Mancala, it will continue to be player 1's turn. If player 2 lands their last stone in their Mancala, it'll continue to be player 2's turn. And just to be extra sure about this, let me make sure that the last recipient is being treated as an integer in both of these comparisons. So let me quit the current game and test this new code. So if player 1 chooses bin D, they end with their last stone in their Mancala, and we see that it's still player 1's turn. So they could choose bin C, which goes around the corner and adds some stones onto player 2's side. So let me have player 2 choose bin E, which lands their last stone in their Mancala, and it's still player 2's turn. If they choose A, it goes around to the other side. Player 1 could choose E this time to end in their Mancala and win a second turn. So I'll end this video here. In the next tutorial, I'll add the rule that relates to what happens if a player lands in an empty bin on their own side.